Hey trackers, I'm out here following bears again, and I'm on a nice trail here that is well used by bears, and there's just divots being worn into the landscape as they go back, as they go back and forth through here. Even from a distance, you can see it. You don't need to go right over it, and you can see how well worn it is here. And then right here at the base of this pine tree and heading up here into the forest. So you can see the well-worn footsteps here as the bears have been passing back and forth across this. Now further up there, there's a branch that the bear has been scratching on, and here is a scat, and over here is another bear bed with a trail that goes through here. I followed it over from there. And there's a bear bed being developed right here, it looks like. A new one. And this is further from the original one that I have a video showing the bear sleeping in. But it might or might not end up using that more often. And I'm hoping to come up with a trail camera placement in here, because I like all this activity right here on this trail. Looks like it's being used frequently and probably by more than one bear. So I might try to find a place to set a camera on there. But anyway, here's a scat next to that bear bed. And that's kind of a common behavior, placing their scats near their beds. But the trail is right here, and I need to find a really good tree to set up a camera on. But this is a lot of bear sign in here. Just thought I'd show you what bear sign looks like in a pine forest kind of environment, because it's slightly different than the grassy environments where it's a lot easier to see. In here, it's more looking for depressions in the ground and looking for the pattern to find out where the bears have been walking. The bright sunlight and the contrast will show you the divots in the soil slightly better, although it's still kind of washed out because the sunlight's so bright here in the forested environment. But you can still kind of make out those divots. When you hit the shadows, the camera doesn't handle it very well, unfortunately. And then I go into shadow. But I was just showing you how it looks in a more brightly illuminated scene. Okay, so now I went into the shadow and allowed the camera to readjust so that you could pick out the divots on the landscape, which are bear footsteps. Quite well worn ones, too. And there seem to be several trails in here. There's this trail here going that way, and there's another one here. So there's a lot of activity right here, back and forth. Here we're in the bright sunlight. Let's see if the camera can adjust to it quickly enough. Divot right there, and then back into the shade. Now we've got tan oak leaves to contend with as far as substrate, but you can still see that there's a divot right there. And then there's a pretty good one where he's been kicking some of the material out of the footstep. Same thing there. So, and it goes on and on through the forest. Bears and deer are large animals, similar in size to humans, and so they like to use the easiest routes possible through the woods. They don't want to go crawling through berries any more than we do. And if they find a route that works very well, they're going to use it over and over and, develop it into their own little highway. So wildlife highways are very common. Deer trails are more narrow because they use hoofs to make them, of course, and bears have wider feet. So bears create a much wider trail with a lot easier to see sign because it's big and it conforms to the size of the foot of the bear. So animals are really smart in that they're not going to waste their time crashing through the brush like this stuff. They want to go where the easiest path is too, just like us. And so they pick the easiest, most open route and they use it over and over. Tree falls down on it, they're going to find a way around it, or they're going to make a path over it or somehow under it. They'll find a way. But they like the easiest path just like humans do. So they're really smart that way. And when you start following their trails in the woods, you find out just how well they navigate out here and how well they plan out these routes. And this is where they live. They're here every day. So they find the best ways to get through their environment and develop pathways that follow those easy paths. So the bear's path goes under here. And this is where the bears walk. Right through here, you see the worn footsteps here and here. And right above it is this fallen tree. So this is a fallen tan oak. And bears are known to just take a swipe at things as they go by. And it looks like that's what they've been doing here, because there's some scratch marks here and here on the bark of this fallen tree. The bear did not drop this tree, it fell on its own. But look at the scratch marks. Let me get the camera to focus. So it's kind of difficult because I'm shooting into the sun, but you can see the scratch marks here. And it looks like it was just a random swipe of the paw. Bears tend to do that sometimes. They'll be walking a trail, they'll just reach up and whack the tree with their paw, leaving some marks. So that's what you see here. There's a nice well-developed trail right here. And you can clearly see, even in the duff here, you can see the trail heading that direction towards that tree. And then you get confirmation with the huge bear scat on the trail too. This looks like this one is getting some repeated use. This is a location of an old stomp trail that was used in the past, and it looks like possibly a bear is creating a stomp trail here again, which is one of those trails also called a ritual marking trail, where they go back and forth over the same trail repeatedly to mark and leave scent and leave a visual marker also. This one's pretty good size, almost 2 inches in width. And there is a very large male bear that hangs out here, and this may be his. This all seems to be made of vegetation. And there's a bunch of gnats on it, it looks like. Let's see. Yeah, it's all going to be grasses. Grass and vegetation that he's been feeding on. Looks like there's a couple of, that's a pine needle in there. That's all grass in there. Early spring diet around here of the black bears. So this trail goes towards that tree, and then there's another trail right here that also shows some evidence of repeated use. Here and here I'm seeing where it looks like the bear came to an abrupt stop. So stopped right there. Motion was forward and kicked up this debris in that direction. That sometimes happens when they're next to their marking trees. They'll do that. Make that abrupt stop, and that looks like what happened here. Boom. That doesn't look like repeated use though right there. That looks like it was a single use, because I'm not seeing really well-worn divots on this trail. This looks like it was a one-time thing. So this trail over here, on the contrast with this, you can see how well-worn these are, because they're actually worn into the soil, and there's an actual divot there where the foot is being placed in the same location every time the bear goes by. So this might be a good place for a trail camera too. I might consider putting one here. So it's heading this direction, and then this tree right here that the trail is approaching has been used many years by bears. It looks like right here and here and here you can see the well-worn steps again. So this is part of a regular use trail. This is the other end of the trail where I first started, and that's where I placed the trail camera. But here's a well-worn trail going to and from the tree and up into the forest. So it looks like the bear or bears are using this tree once again for scent marking, and this activity will increase as we get towards June and July. It is just the second day of April right now, so the activity is just beginning right now, and it looks like the bear is going right for that tree, which is an old marking tree that they've used in the past. You can see the worn area at the base of the tree, and that is because the bear has been standing there with his back against the tree, and then it rubs its back on the tree, and there's a couple of millipedes in there. Interesting. Anyway, so the bear rubs its back on the tree, and it will reach over its shoulder and claw the bark. And it looks like there's some new marks right here that are not old and dried out like the old ones over there. So it looks like the bear's going to start to use this tree again, which is kind of cool. Maybe I'll move a camera over here. So this is a marking tree that was used in the past. In fact, I have a video from probably 8 years ago showing the bear actually biting the bark off this spot right here. It was a different bear, and I haven't seen that bear in quite a few years. But there's some fur stuck to the tree, so they're definitely using it. And this is only going to get more activity as we go into summer. More fresh scratches right here. So if you were setting up a trail camera, this would be a good place to focus, because this will get some activity. As you can see, there's already activity happening here, and it's only April. So black bears are out and about and starting to make their trails. And as the bear leaves the area where that tree is, again, there's a regularly used pathway here that is obvious even from a distance because of the left-right nature of it and how well worn these footsteps are into the landscape. Closer look, you can see that the grasses have been knocked down, that there is dirt on top of those grasses, dirt transfer from the foot of the bear, and just all of this debris has been kicked outward from where the footstep is, and you just follow it very easily, visually, from a distance. And you get confirmation when you see bear scats there. So you definitely are on a bear trail when you see that kind of thing. Now over here, this tree appears to be right in the middle of the trail, doesn't it? And it indeed is. So that other behavior that I've told you about in other videos of where the bears straddle mark trees, where they just walk right over them, right foot, left foot, they just plow right over the tree to leave scent, that's what's going on here. Because you can see the trail, the well-worn footsteps go on each side of this tree, and you can see broken branches on the tree right here, freshly broken in the direction the bear straddled it. You can see the damage here in this bruised vegetation. This plant right here has been bruised because it got walked on by the bear as it went over the tree, straddling it. So that's a straddle mark tree right there. And then you see the trail going on the other side of the tree, both sides of it, where the right and left feet went, but the bear straddles this. And sometimes they'll urinate on them, other times they just walk over it and rub their fur on it as they go, just to leave scent. In the grass, these trails are super easy to see, and they develop over time also, but grass itself is growing so fast right now. When they step on it and it gets knocked over like this, it's pretty obvious that it's been stepped on. So this has been stepped on. It's bruised. The bruises are turning yellow because they're old. They're yellow and brown because that's old damage. Direction of travel was that direction because you can see where the grasses were knocked down in that direction. But these bear trails in the grass are just super easy to follow. Kind of fun to follow them out here because it's just like boom, boom, boom. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Very easy to follow these. And then, you every once in a while, you get a confirmation because you get a scat. And the trail continues on through there, through that brush. But there's your nice bear scat. And once again, this is made out of grass, because that's what they're eating right now. So look how deep some of these are going through this taller stuff. So this is hedge nettle and some taller grasses, and the bear has just been planting feet in here and going right through. Look how deep that is. My foot goes all the way into it. Every single footstep is just super well worn here. See how that vegetation has been damaged? Some of it's broken off. There's dirt on top of the vegetation. All of that disturbance indicates this is where the footfall is. Same thing here, where you can see the damaged grasses and how they're sort of discolored because, first of all, they've bruised and dried out, and also because they have dirt on top of them from the bear's feet. So this trail through the grass is pretty obvious once you get going on it. This is the best time of year to follow this type of trail because as this grass grows, it's going to go to seed. And once that happens, it won't be as palatable to the bears. So they're going to abandon it as a food source. This is interesting. This is a lupin, purple lupin, and it got trampled. Huh. I don't know why the bear trampled that, but sometimes they just randomly decapitate trees, but that's not a tree. Another bear scat on this path, again made of grass. So as their diet changes, they're going to abandon these trails through the grassy fields and they will go exploit other food sources. They're going to start feeding on the berries. Once those ripen, they're going to have manzanita berries and the blackberries and raspberries that grow around here. They're going to have in the fall, they'll have acorns and hazelnuts. But the food sources change throughout the year. So once this grass grows to seed, it's no longer going to be that easy for them to eat it. Not as digestible, won't give them much nutrition. And they'll abandon it as a food source. And then they'll find other things to eat. This bear scat has got some Douglas fir needles in it, as well as the grass that it's been feeding on. So apparently when this bear was eating, it was eating under a Douglas fir tree, and then there's some pine needles over here too. So I know where I would look to see the grass that this bear has been feeding on, because it's also consuming other things. I hope you enjoyed following this bear trail a little ways with me and learned a little bit about the life of a black bear in the North Woods.